Me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside a mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to it. Oh, all right, I'm back now. Little technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. Welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. I am your inept guest. I am inept in my technological ways. But hey, welcome back. We're going live tonight, so hopefully we get some people jumping on live on that YouTube-ish channel and come on with some questions. Daniel, what's up, brother? How you been?
Man, Mike, life is good, man. Running through spring here. The youngin is playing baseball, so I'm getting a taste of life at the ballpark. They both are actually. One's t-ball and one's playing some 8U ball. So
Is that coach pitch or are they pitching themselves?
it's actually pitch a machine. It's a machine pitch, which I'd never heard of until this year. I guess it's a pretty big thing.
We've had so many different things. I didn't like the machine pitch because the kids could never dial into the machine speed. So, and then it was a high arcer. So they kind of went with coach pitch in my area, but I have heard of the machine pitch.
It's not too bad. It's fairly consistent. I think the bad part of it is people don't get it dialed into the plate. They just get it over in the general area, and so then, you know, your kids are standing on the back line of the batter's box and swinging under a pitch because it's at their eyeballs, or vice versa, they're standing at the front of the batter's box, right, and they're still swinging over the top because it's just dumping it in the dirt. So it's a weird. You're right. There's no strike zone. It's just hit the pitch.
Let's go out and have some fun.
So yeah, it's okay though. He seems to be having some fun. We're going through some challenges and learning how to be resilient, so it's good. It's what it's made for.
Yeah, my son's now at the 14U level with baseball, so we just had a nice travel tournament, perfect game tournament we were just in this past weekend up in Shaolin, Staten Island. That's where we spent Mother's Day. So took my wife out for some really good thin crust pizza while we were up there.
There you go.
That was not a bad idea. More Father's Day-ish than Mother's Day-ish, but it's what we had available.
Yeah, it's okay, man. You know, good pizza is good for any occasion.
Yes, good pizza is good pizza, and they had some pretty darn good pizza, so I can't complain. But Daniel, appreciate you taking the time again, buddy. It's been a while since we've had you on, and love having you on. Love talking some football. Love not talking about the Red Sox and that damn hat of yours. As Coach Chip called me a damn
Yankee. I found it
tonight.
You know, I've been wearing it the last couple days, hoping to get some mojo for the guys because the team's not doing hot. But I especially better wear it tonight. I want to make sure that my fandom doesn't run short when I'm on the podcast of the Northeast. So
I can definitely send you down a couple of New York Mets hats because I'm sure there's a couple floating around the rivers and stuff like that here in our area.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would not don your head with a Yankee hat. That would kind of be sacrilege for the Yankee fans here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to wear it anyway. It would just sit on a shelf somewhere upside down, you know.
All right, Johnny Damon. All right, Johnny Damon. Anyway, let's digress back to what we're really here for, because we could banter about baseball and other meaningless things, but we got meaning tonight. We got things to talk about. We got football rules. Rule 2, one of Daniel's favorite, because if you paid attention to any of the number of episodes that Daniel's jumped on with me, we've talked about catches. We've talked about all those different things. So tonight we're going to kind of refresh the memory on, well, what is a catch by rule? So we're diving into Rule 2. And for the officials that are out there, we know that this is one of the most important chapters in our NFHS rule book of understanding the rules, understanding the definitions and the terms that go with it. So that when we're talking to each other, we're all on the same page. But B, when we go to relay to the coaches, we are correct in what we're saying. So, because again, you got people like Daniel who got the rule book coach, and they're going to challenge us on different things to see if we know what the heck we're talking about. And rightfully so. I would do it myself. So, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen over here. I'm over here now. All right. Rule 2, the definitions, terms, and phrases. So, start off with a quick introduction of Rule 2, the importance it's used to define playing terms and provide reference for all other rules. So, an example of this is Rule 9-2, which can be found on page 68 for those of you that are paying attention. Well, it references Rule 232 and 233 as permissible blocking techniques. Fouls, penalties, etc., are prescribed in other sections of the book. And in the rule book itself, the definitions will go in alphabetical order. But we like to be a little different here. We're going to be doing it by going by the different rules. Not the different rules, but the different parts that we're going to be focusing on. So we finished up with Rule 1. Coach Chip was kind enough to join me on Rule 1. And for those that are jumping in tonight, Coach Chip was supposed to join Daniel and I. I was supposed to have my 2 for Tuesday with my 2 coaches talking about Rule 2. But unfortunately, that life thing got in Coach Chip's way. Also known as his wife told him he couldn't do it tonight. He's in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Coach Chip had a prior engagement that he forgot about before he committed to this. So unfortunately, Coach Chip will not be joining us tonight, but he does plan to come on to future episodes and give us that Southern drawl and a couple of his fantastic stories that he's always got rocking and rolling.
We miss you, Coach Chip.
Yeah, kind of. He called me a damn Yankee last time.
Kinda. You invited him back, so
I did. Great guy. So with Rule 1, we talked about a bunch of different things, and 2 things I want to kind of rehash tonight before we really dive into the Rule 2 is our line to gain, which Coach Chip and I did talk about. It is the yard line established when a new series is awarded, also more commonly referred to as a first down. The line to gain is 10 yards in advance of the foremost point of the ball unless a penalty after the ready for play, which is extremely important, after the ready for play. And if less than 10 yards, it is the goal line. Line to gain is the goal line. So this would be first and goal. And then the second part, which is 2-9, is the out of bounds. A player or ball in player possession when touching anything other than player or official that is on or outside the sideline or end line is out of bounds. A loose ball is when it touches anything, including a player or an official, that is out of bounds, OOB. And a player remains out of bounds until they return to the field with any body part touching the field and no body part touching the out of bounds. And that is a new rule from 2023. And more commonly, we're talking about a player reestablishing themselves in bounds, so they're no longer out of bounds. But because if they're standing and straddling the line, they are still out of bounds. So it's important in that aspect. Daniel, you want to take these?
Yeah. Line of scrimmage, 2-25. Vertical plane to the point of the ball nearest the team's goal line, determined at ready for play and remains until next ready for play. Offensive player is on line of scrimmage when he complies with position requirements of a lineman, number, position, etc. We'll check this out later, too. The defensive player is on the line of scrimmage when he is within 1 yard of his scrimmage line at the snap. These will be important when talking about free blocking zone for legal or illegal blocks later on.
Yep. All right. So now we're going to dive into the nuts and bolts of Rule 2, the basic definitions of the game, and the basic definitions that don't necessarily apply to specific rule or they apply to multiple rules. So we're going to kind of jump around. So a rule, starting Rule 2 with what a rule is. 2-37. It is one of a groups of regulations that govern this wonderful game of ours. Sometimes states what a player may do. If an act is not specifically prohibited, then it is permitted, i.e., weaponizing the rule book. So if
it's permitted. It's the government ran, right? It's permitted. It's fine.
Absolutely. If they don't say you can't, then you can.
I like it.
And if the rule does not specify that the ball is dead or that a foul is involved, then the ball is live and no foul has occurred. All right. So that is what a rule is 2-37. And as you can see, that begins with the letter R, and that is rule 37. It doesn't begin with A because that's the alphabetical aspect. All right. Danielson, fouls and penalties.
2-16-2, fouls and penalties. We're in 2-16. A rule infraction for which a penalty is prescribed. A56 is holding. He is committing a foul. He's not committing a penalty. A penalty, 2-16-5, a result imposed by rule against or team member that has committed a foul. Team A was given a 10-yard penalty for A56 holding. Throw flags on a foul. The penalty gives you yardage, loss of down, automatic first down, DQ, etc. I think we really do screw this up in football. We ask for the penalty or throw the penalty flag more than like in basketball. You hear a foul, right? You don't.
Yep.
You never hear the term penalty, but in football, I don't know why it's just become the norm to say penalty. But
Daniel, have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
yes,
That would be a foul. Did you have to pay a fine with that speeding ticket?
I did.
That would be your penalty.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Types of fouls. We got a couple different types of fouls here. And again, a lot of these are pretty obvious at some point, but things that we definitely need to know because we got to communicate this with our white hat. So a dead ball foul occurs in between downs when the ball is dead. The play is over, the runner's tackled, whatever it may be, out of bounds. Okay. Anything after that point, it's a dead ball foul. And this is going to be important because when you have a late hit or a hit out of bounds, different things like that, that does mean a lot on how we're going to assess that penalty. So a live ball occurs during the down when the ball has been snapped and it is in play. Simultaneous with the snap is an act which becomes a foul when the ball is snapped or free kicked. This is going to be your illegal motion type penalties. You're allowed to shift, you're allowed to go in motion, but if you got two people going in motion and they don't pause and reset, that's now simultaneous at the snap. Now we got a flag. A double foul, when one or more live fouls committed by each team, typically the penalties will offset, meaning that they're going to cancel out and the down will be replayed. And then multiple fouls are going to be one or more live ball fouls committed by the same team during the same down. The offended team will be permitted to have their choice of the penalty. So if you have a 15-yard face mask and a different part of the play, you had a 5-yard face mask, it would not be 20 yards in penalties. You would pick which one you want, and obviously you would want the 15-yarder over the 5-yarder if your team has gotten their face mask grasped and pulled.
What are some examples of when teams can accept multiple penalties?
If it's going to be a live ball, then a dead ball. But if it's two live ball fouls, they're going to on the same team, you're going to get the one that's going to hurt the opposing team more in essence.
Which and then dead ball penalties, there's no limit, right? I mean, if somebody's acting a fool and gets multiple penalties, like you can stack those because the ball's dead.
Correct. We try not to stack them like threefold, but I've definitely been involved in cases where you have unsportsmanlike conduct on a player and then the coach loses their shit and then you double up on that. So you could have two. I've seen games where it's been 3, 2 on one on another. So yeah, there are definitely are instances, but it's going to be when you have a live ball, dead ball that you can accept both or 2 dead balls on a team.
Gotcha.
So here you go, leading right into it.
Non-player unsportsmanlike, so non-contact foul while the ball is dead or during the down, which does not influence the play in progress, enforced as dead ball fouls.
You know the signal for that?
Man, it's been is it hands out?
It is. Straight on out is going to be your unsportsmanlike.
Flagrant, so extreme that risks injury or excessively vulgar or abusive, like Wemby in the playoffs, who should be suspended tonight, but he's not because Adam Silver's a weekly. Post scrimmage kick or a PSK, foul by the receiving team during scrimmage kick plays before the kick ends, has special enforcement provisions. More on this in Rule 6 and 10.
Yeah, this one gets doubled up on because it's so much fun.
Yeah, we love doing the PSK.
That's a lie. No, we don't. All right, fouls and penalties 2-16. No foul causes loss of the ball. Okay, I got to repeat that one. No foul causes the loss of the ball. So an example will be a foul with a loss of down penalty on 4th down. Well, the 4th down is going to be the reason why the team lost the ball. No foul causes a live ball to become dead. Example, 12 men on the field participating or a face mask on the runner and the helmet comes off. Well, it's still a live ball. So it's not going to make that ball become dead. Now, those are 2 instances where unfortunately you see the inadvertent whistle, which again, we don't like to say, but they're still live balls. So we got to let it play out. Situations that produce similar results similar to penalties but are not fouls, 216-6, such as a disqualification of a player. It can be a result of a foul. The first touching of a kick by K, onside kick touched before 10 yards, or forfeiture of game. These are situations that produce results similar to penalties but are not fouls. So I want to talk about the second one because that one's really important. The first touching of a kick by K, typically on the onside kick. We have first touching. That's it. It's not a penalty. So if I kick an onside kick and the ball only goes 9 yards and it's bouncing and one of my kicking team players bats the ball back in bounds, it's not a penalty. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a foul, I should say. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? It is first touching and they're not going to gain possession of that ball, but it is not a foul. Daniel, any questions on these?
The multiple, or it says 12 men on the field and you can't make a ball go dead. That one's we see it on offense, right? And I think it used to be like breaking the huddle with more than 11 or what. How did that penalty? We don't huddle anymore, so that penalty's almost become antiquated. But used to, you would try to snap the ball and then there would be a foul, and so the play would not ever become live.
Well, that depends. So we try to get that as a dead ball foul where we're throwing that flag and counting, getting the dead ball flag, because in that scenario, it's typically only a 5-yard penalty.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be illegal participation. That's going to be an illegal substitution. If they're participating on the field, meaning the ball is snapped and the play is running, and then we realize that there's 12 people on the field for one side or the other, and again, it could be offense and defense, that's going to be our live ball foul, but we're going to let that play out. I've seen teams that have had 12 guys on defense get scored upon by getting the ball run right up the middle on them.
Right.
And then after the fact, we're like, oh, that's not right. So something like that does occur. It shouldn't. We're, again, 6-man mechanics here. So myself and the referee are counting the offense. We're signaling to each other that we have 11. If we see 10, we're patting our chest with 5 open fingers on each hand that we have 10. So we're communicating with each other that there's only 10 people on the field. But we're taught, if you think there's 12, throw the flag, kill the play, let's count it. Let's get a 5-yard penalty. And if we're wrong, let's wave that off and then get the play going. So we'd rather err on the side of being wrong or 5 yards as opposed to the 15-yard variety.
I know the college and high school rules are a bit different, but I remember last year or 2 years ago, Dan Lanning purposely putting 12 or 13 on defense. Do you remember that? To, 1, stop a team from scoring, but 2, it burnt 30 seconds off the clock. And all he did was get a 5-yard penalty for, or maybe it was 10. I don't remember exact yardage on his penalty, but he got to play with more defensive players. The other team did not score and basically ran the clock out on the game, so he won based on using too many players on defense. So sometimes there's a little advantage. Once again, weaponizing the rule book.
Yep. So, Daniel, I just threw up a comment there that we got from Facebook from Jeff. You might want to revisit your comment on K batting the ball. Jeff, if you don't mind, if you're still on, if you can elaborate on that, because if K is kicking, then we're talking about a kickoff, an onside kick, and the ball has only gone 9 yards, and they touch the ball before it's gone 10 yards, it's not going to be a foul. It's going to be first touching, and R is going to be able to take the outcome of that play or take first touching, whichever is more beneficial to them in that scenario. So if that's what I needed to clear up, if that's what was misunderstood, but it's not a foul for a first touching violation at the high school level.
There you go.
All right, Daniel, I'm giving you a meatball here.
Team designations 2-43. So offense, obviously the team in possession of the ball. Defense, opponent of the offense. Team A, team which puts the ball in play, often seen with like A and then a jersey number if you're discussing a certain player. Team B, opponent of Team A. These also, I think, colloquial is the name. I can't remember the word.
You got me on that one.
Huh?
You got me on that one.
Yeah. That's okay because I don't remember what I was going to say anyway. Team K and R. Team K, team which legally kicks the ball during the down, and R is the opponent of Team K, generally the receiving team. Team designators are retained until the ball is next ready for play. So a K can, it could be like a turnover or something after R has received it, and now K is running in a touchdown after recovering a fumble, and it can get weird, but they stay K and R throughout the entire down.
Correct. All right, moving along. So, player designation 232. One of 22 team members who is designated to start, either half or subsequently replace another player. Players are designated by a team and a number, meaning A1, K56, as Daniel mentioned before, B20, R0. And then 232.5 is the captain. Players are designated to represent their team during the coin toss, maximum 4 captains at a time. We do allow other, I'm trying to think of the word that we use for the captains, but we'll keep some captains back on the hash just to show that they're getting recognized by their team, by their schools, but they can't be in the handshake line. I don't know if that's a New Jersey particular rule or if that's an NFHS rule, to be honestly off the top of my head. But that's the way that we do it. We have 4 come out. Special occasions, sometimes we do have the 5th or the honorary captains, different things like that. Captains will help with penalty decisions, which again we've talked about. We're going to the coach.
Yeah.
Sorry, captains, but we're gonna go to the coach. And ball placement in certain situations, sort of like if they get to choose between the different hashes as they're coming out, they're gonna bring us out a ball. Typically, this is going to be your quarterback saying we want the ball on the right hash, and we're going to go from there.
I often forget that, or don't really think. So, comparing football to other sports, we substitute players all the time.
Yes.
Right? Even on offense and defense, because of the whistle brings a play to an end, and we have a dead ball before having a live ball. But you don't really think of those as substitutes, just, hey, defense took the field. Well, no, you actually substituted 11 people for those other, right? So it's kind of weird. Where if you think about soccer or basketball where, they're going both ways, on hockey, you got to, purposely take them off the field. I don't know. It just seems weird. It seems weird to think about, when the rule is one of 22 people designated to start the half.
Yeah.
Because we play, as many kids as we possibly can. So that's just weird.
And as many snaps as you possibly can on the offensive side.
For sure.
All right. So, Daniel, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah. Continuing player designations here. Replaced player notified by substitute that he is to leave the field. Players also considered replaced when substitute becomes a player. Substitute, a team member who replaces teammate or fills vacancy, becomes a player when communicates with teammate or game official, enters the huddle, positioned in formation, participates in the play, does not become a player until on his side of the neutral zone, meaning if he's running from the 50 or his sideline to the 10-yard line and he's trying to get on defense,
yeah,
he's not a player until he gets across the neutral zone and gets to actually be in position.
Now, what happens if the ball is snapped while that player is running onto the field?
I mean, by the rule, I don't think you can say there's 12 men on the field because he's not a player yet. So maybe what would that be? I don't know. I know like generally there's just a gentleman's rule, like the guys up within a couple of yards of the sideline, you just let him go. I don't. Is there a foul for him trying to get out there?
If they're coming on late, yes. Yep, you would still have your offside scenario in that one.
Okay.
So that's where your hurry up teams get a nice advantage of getting on the ball and getting moving, because at all levels, any hurry up offense is going to limit substitutions, and high school rules doesn't necessarily have the substitution rules that college and the NFL has, where if the offense subs, we have to allow the defense to sub. That sometimes becomes the gentleman's agreement, where if we're holding it up for one side, but if you got a team that's running a hurry up, there's usually a reason why they're running a hurry up. It's either late in the game or that's their style of offense to try to catch people in these scenarios.
For sure.
So I want to go back to the question that we had before with Jeff on YouTube. He said you just mentioned that Kay batted the ball to keep it from going out of bounds, which is a foul. So Jeff, yes, we're talking about illegal batting unless the bat was going back towards their own goal line. So I see where you're saying with that, but the point of it is it's not a foul for just first touching before the ball goes beyond the 10 yards is what I was trying to say. So thank you for reminding me of that. So good catch. So now moving along here, sticking with the player designations, 232, our passer, 232-12 is the player who throws a legal, underlined, italics, legal forward pass. Continues to be the passer until the pass ends or they move to participate in the play. The person throws in a legal forward pass. Are they constituted protection?
No.
A runner, 232-13, player who is or simulates possession of a live ball. Why is it important that we have there simulates?
Because if you wreck his world because you think that he's on the fullback on the dive, he goes by the same rules as a runner.
Correct. Especially for those triple option teams where you got the ball in the belly, then it's pulled out and pitched or ran by somebody else. So if they're simulating that they're running the ball, then they are a runner. And ladies and gentlemen of the option teams, and I know I've talked about this, that goes for the quarterback to a point. If they're going to follow out those fakes and run it like they're running around the outside after they've given the balls to that dive, you anticipate getting popped. You're a football player. You're going to get hit. And a back is a team A player with no part of their body breaking the waist of the nearest teammate on the line. How many guys do you have to have off the line of scrimmage, Daniel?
There's no number that you have to have off the line of scrimmage.
How many guys do you have to have on the line of scrimmage?
Got to have 7 on the line of scrimmage.
Can you have more than 7 on the line of scrimmage?
You can have all 11 if you want.
Yes, but you do have to have at least...
I don't know who you would snap it to, but by God, put him in there.
So I'm gonna revisit that. You have to have how many on the line of scrimmage?
Have to have 7.
So that means how many have to be off?
There's no number that have to be off.
What's the maximum that can be off?
4.
4. There's what I was getting at.
Okay. I thought you were trying to get me with a gotcha. Like,
No.
oh, no, the rule doesn't say that.
All right, continuing with our player designations, our linemen. Woo, my favorites. That's me. Team A, who is facing opponent's goal line and whose head or foot is breaking the plane through the waist of the snapper. This is an offensive player who is considered underlined on the line of scrimmage. So we got to have those peeps on the line of scrimmage. The snapper is the Team A lineman who snaps the ball. Example, plane of the snapper's waist and being on the line of scrimmage. Explain that. So that's my note to myself to explain it. Plane of the snapper's waist being on the line of scrimmage. So old school option people, again, they tried to keep their offensive linemen as deep as possible. You see it with the NFL with, I know Kansas City, their one tackle, I want to say it was their right tackle, was notoriously getting called for being in the backfield because he wasn't breaking the center's waist. In the NFL, you'll see pre-snap that it's kind of bowing backwards their alignment, because the defensive ends are so damn fast that they're trying to get back on those pass plays to protect their quarterback, they're trying to cheat as much as they can. But we got to make sure that we have at least the heads to the waist of our snapper.
Now it says head or foot. So by rule, a lot of these offensive tackles nowadays are in 2-point stances and they're kind of offset. So does that front foot breaking the waist, is that enough to be on the line?
Wait a minute, say that again. The front foot?
Yeah. So the right tackle, generally, like their left foot is up, their right foot is back.
Okay.
So that left foot that's up in their offset stance. It doesn't have to be their head or because we often say like the helmet of the player needs to break. Needs to be in line with the hip of the snapper.
I'm going to give you my thought on it because this is going to be something that each wing official is going to be a little bit different with their mechanics and what they're perceiving it. If that lineman, because no linemen are going to stand completely upright. They're always going to be bent. They're always going to be down. We try to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that if they're going into a 3-point stance and their head would cross, but in case if it's somebody like, we're going to give them that verbal warning. Hey, move it up. You're really close. You're really close. And because typically those people that are really close tend to move back, not up, unless they're warned. And then all of a sudden they are in the backfield. So I'm going to give them the verbal warning with that. I'm going to try to get them a little bit closer because I don't want to hear from the other sideline. If I definitely start hearing it from the other sideline, I'm going to say, Coach, just move them up an inch, move them up 2 inches, whatever it may be. So that's going to fall into the preventative one. But yeah, we try to keep them up. And that's where the Kansas City guys get in trouble. I know that's what he kept on getting in trouble for. And here's some pictures of it. So you can see in the two graphics here, the one on the left-hand side, they're deep, but their helmets, and they're all in 2-point stances. So Daniel was talking about, they're good here. So I would have no problems with this. The one on the right, you could see how the left guard is a little bit back, and then the left tackle is even further back. This one we'd probably have a talking to, because it's not there just yet. It's on that line, and we're on a grass field, so there's a lot of different variables. But we'd be like, hey, Coach, move that left tackle up for me. Daniel, where do most tackles, who do they line up off of?
The guard.
The guard. So if your guard is starting to slide back a little bit, so my wing T teams, where you're pulling the guards a lot, if your guard's starting to slide back a little bit, you tend to have the tackle starting to nudge back a little bit, and the tackles tend to be the ones that get called for this violation more so than anybody else.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, take it on.
Yep, we got still in player designations 232. Snapper 232-14. During scrimmage kicks, remains a snapper until he has had reasonable opportunity to protect himself or moves to participate. Holder 232-7. Player who controls the ball on the ground or a kicking tee. Kicker 232-8. Player who legally punts, drop kicks, or place kicks. Becomes a kicker when the knee, lower leg, or foot makes contact with the ball. Continues to be a kicker until reasonable opportunity to protect himself. During free kicks, continues to be a kicker until he advances 5 yards beyond the free kick line or kick has touched ground or other player.
So the last one is during free kicks. That's one of the things that I'm looking for as an umpire, because our setup as an umpire is I'm behind the kicking team. I'm looking primarily for the pop-up kickoffs, which is the ball being driven straight into the ground and then popping up. So that's one of my priorities. And then my keys are going to be basically the two interior players along with the kicker to make sure that there's no illegal hits on them, illegal blocks or whatever it may be in that scenario before I start opening up. But that's going to be my primary responsibility for that. The kicker continues to be a kicker until a reasonable opportunity to protect themselves. This is going to be on your, most commonly on your rugby punts, where the punter is rolling out. And that also then goes into becomes a kicker when the knee, lower leg, or foot makes contact with the ball. So if prior to that you blow up the kicker before they kick the ball, whatever it may be, you're good. But if that ball gets kicked and you're second late and you blow that kid up, you now got a roughing the kicker. So we got a 15-yarder. And what goes along with roughing?
Automatic first down.
First down.
Question here, just for clarification. If I block the ball into his leg and now it becomes a kick because he's made contact, and then I hit him, chicken or the egg here. So
how would you block it?
I dive at the ball on a field goal. I hit the ball back into his leg as he's got his leg coming forward, and now I'm roughing him because I hit him after I touched the ball.
No, because you've gotten the ball first.
Kick, or is it going to be a roughing?
That's going to be a block kick.
Okay.
All right. Non-player, coach, trainer, other attendant, substitute, or replace player who does not participate. Back the F up off the sidelines. Point of emphasis this year. That's our sideline. So get back. Doesn't matter who you are. Photographers, they tend to cheat up. Get back. A disqualified player is barred from further participation in the game. That is 232.6. 232.10 is our non-player. 232.16 is a defenseless player, especially vulnerable to injury because of physical position and focus of concentration. And Daniel and I have talked about this one a number of different times. The examples are going to be A through I on page 38. A player who is obviously out of bounds or gives themselves up, a player who receives a blindside block with forceful contact not initiated with open hands. Again, that we're going to be okay with. It's lowering that shoulder on that blindside block. A receiver or a defender making an interception that has not clearly become a runner when forceful contact is not incidental, initiated with open hands, or an attempt to make a wrapping move. And that's the new key one there, and that's the big one that we're looking for, is the wrap. So if you come in, a receiver makes a great catch across the middle, or a defender makes an interception, whatever it may be, and they haven't come down yet, but you fly in there and blow that dude up while wrapping your hands or in a wrapping motion, because you might not be able to get your hands wrapped, you're good. But if you come in and just lower your shoulder with no attempt of a wrapping motion, then we got a defenseless player there. Any questions on that one? Because I know coaches still do get confused on that one. All right, you want to take possession, 234.
Yeah, player possession, live ball held or controlled by a player after it has been handed or snapped to him or caught or recovered by him. Team possession, live ball in player possession, or loose ball after loss of player possession. Live ball is always in possession of a team. Example, fumble out of bounds. It's a great example for that. That's the most common sense one. Change of possession occurs when an opponent gains player possession during a down. Joint possession, simultaneous possession of a live ball by opposing players.
Who gets it?
Ties go to the runner. I'm going to the offense.
Yep, you're right. And that's one such a difficult one. And we go back and forth with that there should never be joint possession. Somebody is getting that ball first. Somebody is coming down to the ground first. But you're talking milliseconds, so sometimes it's just so darn hard to distinguish that. So joint possession, we're going to go to the offense. All right. Before possession occurs now, 2:24. Any contact with the ball, either via touching the ball or being touched by it, can be intentional or unintentional, and touching by a game official in the field of play or end zone is ignored. Touching, any contact with the ball. So again, this goes back to our first touching, where we're going to have different options when it comes to the kick game. We'll talk a little bit more in depth with that as we get into the kick game element more. But we got to know, we're going to typically beanbag that where we had touching so that we know where that ball is going to be placed. It's going to help signify to us that different things like that. And again, that's a mechanics thing. But you want to have that beanbag down. You want to know when touching occurred, where it occurred. Did it go 10 yards on the kick area? So there's a lot of different variables that we need to know with that. And then a muff is the touching of a loose ball by a player in an unsuccessful attempt to secure possession. Daniel, why is it important that we understand what difference between a muff and a fumble?
Um,
Can you scoop and score a fumble?
oh no, they can't advance a fumble, right?
No, fumble you can. A muff you can't.
There you go.
So that's the big one right there.
I feel like a failure. Look at me.
Hey, you're a coach. It happens. All right. So Daniel, this one goes back to now our catch stuff and when possession occurs and different things like that. So I want you to take this away here. So how do players gain possession?
So how does player gain possession? Via snap, hand, catch, recovery, or interception. How does a player lose possession? Snap, pass, fumble, kick, or handoff. How does a player possession change? Handoff, pass and catch, fumble and recovery, kick and catch or recovery, pass and interception.
Seems kind of basic, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. But here's where it gets fun. Daniel, what's a catch?
Yep. Here we go. I'm surprised you didn't change your picture to last year's playoff run when the Rams, was it the Rams that got?
Rams and Seahawks.
There was like 3 of them that weekend, wasn't there? Or within 14 days or something?
Yeah, it was fun.
It's a wild
Good
time.
episodes.
Catch 2-4, act of establishing player possession of a live ball in flight, must first contact the ground inbound while maintaining possession, or forward progress stopped by a defender inbounds. Simultaneous catch, joint possession by opponents via a catch. A recovery, gaining possession of a live ball after it strikes the ground. Airborne player completes recovery when he touches the ground inbounds with possession. Simultaneous recovery, joint possession by opponents via a recovery. Yeah, look how few explanation there is there for a catch, and then now it's a 7-piece process or something like.
Yeah, we've had full episodes just on catches, and we thought we had it, and it's rearing its head again because now, and especially on Saturday nights and Sunday all day with the big college games and the NFL games, with all the damn replay that we have, it micro dissects everything that they're doing as an official. Where on a Saturday afternoon or a Friday night lights, we're making a call and we're going with it. You better be able to sell it, damn it. 240 a snap and 219 is handing. A snap is the legal act of passing or handing the ball backward from the ground. A snap begins when the snapper first moves the ball legally, other than an adjustment. The adjustments are going to basically be on the plane of the ball, kind of rolling it to the side so they can get the laces to how they want it, or they're going to pick up the closest nose to them. If they are a nose snap team, they are going to do that. And the reason I'm saying that is because we do have centers that tend to adjust the ball forward on every single snap. And if it's not egregious, we kind of just talk to them, but we don't want you moving the ball forward, please. The movement must be quick and continuously backward motion of the ball. Must immediately leave the snapper's hands and touch a back or the ground before it touches a Team A lineman, and the snap ends when the ball touches the ground or any other player. Handing is 219, transferring the ball from one player to another where both players are in contact with the ball at the same time. Forward, the ball is handed ahead of the original runner's position. Backward, the ball is handed behind the original runner's position. And this is needed to be defined because in Rule 732, we're going to dive into, when you're allowed to do forward handoffs and things like that. Because if it's beyond the line of scrimmage, no bueno. Daniel, you got a muddle huddle team. The swinging gate, whatever they're called these days. Center takes the ball from the ground and snaps the ball on a 45-degree angle to their left, backwards, 45-degree angle to a receiver back there. Is that good?
100%.
if they pick that ball up first and then throw it on that 45-degree angle. Is that good?
The answer's supposed to be no.
Yeah, the answer is no. It's got to be continuous, which
We
is
did
the
a
one
snap.
thing.
Was it last year? And I think I talked about this last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. We did the snap. We snapped it from a tight end all the way across the formation to a quarterback on the other side. So the tight end snapped it
Yep.
to a quarterback.
Doesn't say who has to snap it, just
That's
that
right.
that person would be the snapper. He wouldn't
That's
be a tight end anymore. All right. And here's why we're going to talk about those handing too. Passing, 231. Daniel, what do you got for passing?
Throwing a ball in player possession so that it travels in flight. Forward pass thrown with initial direction towards the opponent's goal line has gone beyond neutral zone. If at any point the entire ball is beyond the neutral zone, ends when caught, touches the ground, or is out of bounds. A backwards pass thrown with initial direction parallel or towards own goal line ends when caught, recovered, or is out of bounds.
All right. So the reason we got to know this, and again, I refer back to the option teams. If you're running a good triple option, and I learned this from going to Navy and clinicking with the Navy coaches, that pitch to that pitch receiver, that option receiver that's out wide, should be going parallel towards the line of scrimmage. It should not be going backwards because that's going to mess up your timing, where the whole point of that rocket toss, in essence, same kind of concept, should be parallel to the line of scrimmage because you're trying to gain leverage on the defense. If that ball is thrown forward, is that still good?
Yeah, it absolutely is good as long as that player doesn't then try to throw it again.
What if it's beyond the line of scrimmage?
Well, then no.
Okay. And that's where it's important because you'll have coaches against an option team. He threw it forward. Yes, he did, coach. He was behind the line of scrimmage. So we're not going to do anything because typically those are two players that are both starting behind the line of scrimmage. But yes, we will take note of where that does occur to make sure that you don't have an illegal forward pass.
Yeah.
Whoop. Our fumble and interception is now 218 for a fumble. Loss of player possession other than by handing, passing, or legal kick.
You did the Jets so dirty here.
No, I didn't.
That's your own
Mark
team.
Sanchez. No, it's not. I'm a Giants fan, baby.
Oh, it's the same stadium. It's the same pretend state.
We're gooder than the Jets.
I got you. I got
Yeah.
you. We'll see you this year, maybe.
Yeah, we had the second and fifth draft picks for a reason, Daniel. All right. That's why I said we're gooder. An interception, 223, catch of an opponent's fumble or a pass is going to be considered an interception. And the interception, going back a couple slides, that ball must also be caught, which, talking about the catch, possession, inbounds, all that fun stuff, for it to be considered the interception. All right, the neutral zone. What do you got?
Yep, neutral zone established when the ball is ready for play. During a free kick down, it's the space between the two free kick lines, which is 10 yards. Scrimmage down, space between the scrimmage lines, which is the length of the ball. Expanded neutral zone is maximum 2 yards beyond the defensive line of scrimmage in field of play. Why is this defined? Ineligible downfield players, scrimmage kick provisions on touching. You get to block, your O-line get to block for the 2 yard, the extended neutral zone before they're considered downfield.
Yep.
And then, I don't know the scrimmage kick provisions on touching.
We're going to talk about that one in Rule 6, so I'm going to hold off on that one for right now. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pollen season. No, the allergies have gotten me. So here you go with our neutral zone on a free kick. So the graphic here, pretty simple. You see the kicking team, K, is lined up on the 40-yard line. R is beyond the 50-yard line. So they can be all the way up to that 50-yard line. This team decided to sneak it back a little bit on the side of the ball being kicked because they're kicking from the right, from K's right hash. So the left side of R is a little bit deeper, just so they can prevent the ball from being drilled right to them and it can react a little bit better. Where on the far side, that person's closer to like the 49 and a half-ish, but they're not crossing the 50-yard line. So both teams in this scenario would be good. And if K were to touch the ball between the 40 and 50-yard line before it is touched by R, then we have first touching. On our scrimmage play, the neutral zone. So you can see here, the defense is kind of set back probably about a half a yard, a little bit. This team is not necessarily bunching the ball like a lot of defenses like to do, crowd the ball. So they're a little bit back, but you can see a true neutral zone, and the only person that is technically allowed to be in the neutral zone is going to be the head of the center or the hand. We don't want the head of the center to be beyond the neutral zone, which you will see with some centers. Again, that's one we like to talk to the center about, but unfortunately, when it gets to game 7 and it's been the same center weeks 1 through 6, that's their snapping style, and it's going to be very difficult to try to break that habit at that point in time. But yeah, we don't want to be beyond the neutral zone. Questions here, Daniel?
No.
All right. Some remaining general definitions. Scrimmage is 238, is the action of two teams during a down, which begins with a legal snap, i.e. a scrimmage play, or which is referenced all over the place. Tackling, the use of arms, hands, legs, or body by a defensive player to hold or bring the runner to the ground. And a huddle is two or more players in the same team grouped together before a down. How many offenses do that anymore?
Man, it's not a bunch.
How many
The
defenses
muddle
do you
huddle's
see
kind of
huddle?
making a comeback though. I see a lot of send your wide receivers out. You kind of muddle huddle just so you can speed the game up. But
Yep. How many defenses do you see huddle these days?
I can't tell you the last time I saw one.
Yeah, I agree. They kind
It's
of the
all
defense
hand and
kind of
arm
just
signals now.
meanders around.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to dive into definitions per rules. So this one is going to be Rule 3 that we're going to start off with. We're going to go through a couple of rules tonight. We will be breaking up Rule 2 into 2 episodes because it is such a long and important one. So we're going to get through the beginning couple of rules with it. So the first one, Rule 3, is Rule 2-35 is our ready for play. You'll see it referred to as the RFP. It signifies that the ball may be put in play, either 25 or 40 seconds on the play clock, and the ball cannot be snapped or kicked until the ready for play by the referee signal or by rule. And or by rule states now we're setting the ball. If it's, again, I'll use the example of the hurry up, but it's basically any offense. I'm getting them when I see the wings or hear the whistle blow or find out that the play is over for whatever the reason, and we get that ball and I put it down, it's ready for play. We're going from there. So that you don't necessarily need to have a whistle on every play to signify the ready for play. Conferences 2-6. Coach referee conference is where the referee confers with the coach at the sideline in front of the team box. We try to keep this to the head coach, not all the assistant coaches. Unless your head coach is up in the box and he designated somebody to talk to on the sideline, we want to keep this to the head coaches. And I'm going to put this out to my referee friends that are out there. Have your umpire, have your short wings, have your O-to-O open, have a witness with you. Okay, don't go over there by yourself and have a conversation. Hopefully it's not confrontational, but a conversation with the head coach without having another set of ears for you there. Coaches, I would recommend you do the same thing. Have other people there that are with you. Again, we want to keep this to the head coach, but if you have your assistant coach standing behind them so that they can overhear the conversation, go for it. Because everybody wants to have that extra witness, because we don't want to be called out later in the game saying, oh, well, you told us we could do this and now you're saying we can't. No, this is what we said. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So, coaches conference at the sideline in front of the team box. Authorized team conference outside the 9-yard mark, which is the top of the numbers. Within 9 yards of the sideline, inside the 9-yard marks, again, the numbers, any number of players and coaches can be in there. Between the 9-yard marks, which is the old school timeouts where the coaches would run out to the middle of the field, okay, that is only allowed to have one coach and no more than 11 players. Typically now it happens outside the 9s. When we have an injury and we're calling a timeout, and an injury timeout, technically the players are supposed to remain inside the nines, the coaches on their sidelines. It's up to our discretion if we're going to let coaches come out. We try to keep this universal on both sides, or uniform on both sides. But again, some crews do it a little bit differently, where some crews are a little bit lax on one side, and the other side, they're really holding them to the line of get back, coach, where other coaches are meandering in and out. With the injuries, we try to give the coaches the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes when you got just all the different cramping and stuff going on like that, we want to try to keep the flow of play going the best that we can. And there you see the two different scenarios. Coaches inside with the team in the huddle, between the hashes, that's going to be inside the 9 yards. And then right along the sideline, you see all different people involved here, your trainer, your coaches, your assistant coaches, your position coaches. That's one's going to be outside the numbers. All right, Daniel, definitions. Rule 4, status of the ball. What do we got?
Dead ball not in play. The ball is dead during interval between the downs. Live ball is in play. It becomes live via a legal snap or free kick. Loose ball, pass, fumble, or kick following act of passing, fumbling, or kicking. In flight has not yet touched the ground. Grounded has touched the ground. Continues to be loose until the player secures possession or becomes dead by rule. How can it become dead by rule?
More in Rule 4.
That's right.
That's what we call in the industry a teaser.
There we go.
So, yeah, we're going to dive about this when we get to the true Rule 4, not just the definitions, but runner goes out of bounds, players tackled, different things like that. That's when the play is going to be dead. Rule 4, forward progress. Now we're going to get into some fun ones here. So forward progress is 2-15. It's the end of forward advancement of the ball. Okay, that's kind of basic. Again, now we're trying to give the benefit to everybody here. This is where we're trying to hold the whistle an extra half second if we can. So forward progress towards an opponent's goal line when the runner is in possession, the forwardmost point of the ball. So if the runner is stretching out that ball, we want to give them that forward progression. We want to give them that tip of the ball. This now applies to when a ball is fumbled out of bounds. Unless a forward fumble goes out of bounds or is ruled out of bounds between the goal lines, in which case the ball shall be returned to the spot of the fumble. So if you fumble the ball out of bounds backwards, we're going to go to where the ball went out of bounds. The frontmost part, as I hit my microphone there, frontmost part of the ball, we're going to give you that spot. If the ball is fumbled forward out of bounds, we're going back to where that ball was fumbled from. And again, we're going to try to beanbag that, and we're going to try to give the person the foremost spot of where that ball went out of bounds, or where that ball was fumbled from. So we're going to try to do that. Now, this one's the real good one. Forward progress of an airborne receiver contacted while making the catch. Forward progress is marked at the furthest point after possession. Daniel, you and I have talked about this one a number of different times here. When has possession been established? All that other fun stuff. This goes back to our catch, and we are going to dive into this one in some future episodes once again with that. But forward progress is the furthest point after possession. So that's the key term there.
Yeah, that making contact while in air, et cetera, that's where it gets a little crazy, right?
Correct. Yep. That's where you and I had some good debates. All right, Daniel, you want to take Rule 5 here?
For sure. Rule 5, down or loss of down. Scrimmage down is an action which starts with a legal snap. Free kick down, action which starts when the ball is kicked. Down ends when the ball next becomes dead. Loss of a down is the loss of a right to replay a down, associated with penalties for certain fouls.
Yep, we're going to talk about those, but those are going to be your roughings, different things like that.
Is illegal forward pass?
Illegal forward pass. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
Roughing is going to be automatic.
Automatic first down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's an odd question for you, but why is that guy so grumpy?
Well,
He doesn't look happy holding the third
yeah,
down marker.
maybe it's really cold. He looks like he's in, Buffalo. I see that little blurred out symbol. Maybe Denver.
Yeah, you're seeing some orange and blue in the background.
Maybe he's chilly.
I don't know though. I'd be happy being on the sidelines of an NFL game, holding the down marker,
Let's do
not
it.
getting yelled at.
Not getting yelled at, unless you're getting yelled at.
Yes. All right, definitions, rule 6. So this is the fun one. As we talked about before, this is where we're going to dive into our kicking game. So a kick, 224, is the intentional striking of a ball with the knee, lower leg, or foot. So Daniel, that goes back to your question. If the ball gets blocked back to them, they're not intentionally striking that ball. They probably did first to get the ball blocked, but then when it goes back to them, not intentional. So the kick ends when a player gains possession or the ball becomes dead, not in player possession. That's where our muff rule is going to come into play, that we're going to talk about a muff, because possession has never been gained on a muff.
Right.
A free kick, any kick which puts the ball in play to start a free kick down. After the ready for play or before the kick, the players must be behind the free kick line, except for the kicker and the holder. And it is used for kickoffs, kicks following a safety, free kick after a fair catch, different things like that, which that one's the fun one too, the free kick after the fair catch. And then a scrimmage kick. Scrimmage kick is any kick from in or beyond or behind the neutral zone during a scrimmage down. It can be a place kick, a punt, a drop kick may be used. For place kicks, the ball must be controlled on the ground or kicking tee by a teammate, also known as the holder.
When was the last drop kick used?
That I've actually seen
Yeah. You've
at
seen
the
one?
high school level, never. I couldn't tell you the collegiate one, and I know there's been one since, but Drew Brees is probably the last one that I can think
Didn't
off the top
Bledsoe
of my
do one
head.
too? Didn't both Drews pull one off?
I don't know. Doug Flutie, he did too, going way back. I'm sure if Coach Chip were here, he'd have like 4 or 5 of them for us.
We'll have to look and see.
Looking at
You want me to do this one?
Sure.
All right. Types of kicks 2-24. Kickoff, free kick, which puts the ball in play at the beginning of each half, after successful field goal, or any try. Place kick or drop kick may be used. A place kick is a legal kick made while ball is in fixed position on ground or tee, can be held by a holder. Used for scrimmage kick, kickoff, free kick following a safety, or free kick following, I don't know what that is. FCFK?
Free kick. What is that? Oh, God.
Following kick, I don't know. Oh, fair catch. Free kick.
Thank
fair
you.
Catch. Yes. Took me a
Yes,
minute.
look at that.
I know. Pulled it out of left field there.
And you got it.
Drop kick, legal kick made by dropping the ball and kicking it as it touches the ground or as it is rising. Used for scrimmage kick, kickoff, a free kick following a safety, or a free kick after a fair catch.
Fair catch, free kick. Yes. Gotta get my
Doug
acronyms right.
Flutie was the last successful in a 2005 season, which was actually the finale on January 1st, 2006.
That's the last successful one.
Mm.
All right. Other types of kicks. 2-24. Punt is a legal kick made by dropping the ball and kicking it before it touches the ground, used for a free kick following a safety or from a scrimmage kick. So then I got this little chart here of what kicks can be used when. You got your place kick, your drop kick, and your punt. On a kickoff, place kick, yes. Drop kick, yes. Punt, no. Scrimmage kick, place kick, yes. Need to be controlled by a teammate. Drop kick, yes. Punt, yes. Punt cannot score, field goal can. Free kick following a safety, all 3 are good. Free kick following a fair catch, all 3 are applicable. So just a little chart to help you all visually figure out when can I do that. Typically, it's going to be the punt or the place kick. We don't see the drop kicks, but we have to go over it because it is still in the rule book.
So I know we often have to identify differences in this level ball and other levels, because if you watch college or NFL, they have to punt after a safety, right? They do not get the option of the place kick.
I don't know if it's necessarily option. I'm unsure of that. I know the old rule, the old train of thought was that their punter typically had a stronger leg. And when you punt the ball, if you think about it, in the NFL, your punter is going to kick the actual ball from about 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And then they're kicking the ball 60 plus yards, whatever it may be. So typically your punter had a stronger leg, and now they're up at the line of scrimmage where they're doing that punt from. I'm not sure if it's not an option though. That's something I got to look up for next episode, but that's a
Love
good
it.
question. All right. Types of kicks. 224, an illegal kick. Intentionally striking of the ball, which does not comply with the free kick or scrimmage kick requirements in 224-3 and 224-4. Illegal kick. When a ball is loose following an illegal kick, retains the same status prior to that kick. So an example of that, kick beyond the line of scrimmage or neutral zone, or QB/punter kicking the ball out of bounds after a bad snap. So ball gets snapped over the punter's head. Ball's rolling around on the ground. The punter kicks the ball. Legal or illegal?
It's illegal.
Without picking it up,
Yeah, I think that'd be illegal. We often see this one try to kick it out of the back of the end zone, so it's a safety and not a defensive touchdown. I'm trying to save the team 4 or 5 points there. Illegal.
it is illegal. Now, if they're kicking it towards R off the ground and R grabs that ball, catches that now illegal kick, and returns it for a touchdown, what do we got?
Well, it had the same status prior to the kick, meaning it was a loose ball, which means they've just recovered a loose ball. So that would be a successful touchdown.
Correct. So that's one of those ones where K can decline, R, rephrase, backtrack, R can decline it and take the status of what the play was, which is going to be your touchdown. So, pop-up kick is now, again, this is another illegal kick. Pop-up kick is a free kick in which the kicker drives the ball directly into the ground. The ball strikes the ground once and rises in a manner that the ball is kicked directly, like the ball is kicked directly off the tee. This is illegal. This is a dead ball foul. This is one, again, where the umpire should be watching that. That is my primary focus here in New Jersey with our mechanics. I shouldn't say that this should be the umpire, but that's how we are in New Jersey. That is the main thing that I am looking for. And once I see that, I'm blowing the whistle and stopping it, because we're preventing the guys from looking straight up in the air and trying to call for a fair catch, which they no longer are afforded the help on that R team of making a fair catch, or they're looking up and they get absolutely drilled because the ball was grounded. What I'm looking for is, well, I'm 6'3". If it goes over my head, I'm got a pop-up kick. If it doesn't go over my eyes, I'm not going to call the pop-up kick. So that's where it's going to be my thing. But we're looking for it to be drilled directly into the ground off the tee and take that big hop. All right. I think this is our last slide, sir.
There we go. First touching, 212. This is a good one. Free kick touched infield of play by any K player before it crosses R's free kick line and before it is touched by an R player. Now, this is what we were kind of discussing earlier. On a kickoff, the ball's rolling. It's at 9 yards. It bumps into a player. I know that Jeff had restated that you can't bat anything on a kick. That's fine. But it just runs into a player. That's not a foul, as you were trying to make the point. There's no foul for first touching. It's just first touch there. A scrimmage kick touched in field of play and beyond the expanded neutral zone by any K player before it is touched by R, which in this case is going to down the ball right there. Correct.
Correct.
First touching is not a foul. Some will call it a violation. Provisions associated with first touching that are similar to penalties. Meaning, if you first touch it at 9 yards on an onside kick, the other team can receive the ball right there. So it is not a foul. It is not a penalty to get the ball. It is just what happens because you had a violation.
Yep. And we're going to talk about that one because there's also the other ones where if R picks the ball up after first touching and they return it and then they fumble and K gets the ball, it can be ours ball back at first touching unless there was a penalty that happened or a foul that happened during that return. So
Yes.
there's some fun ones with that.
For sure.
Oh, I lied. This is not our last slide. We have two more. This one and one more. So, Rule 6, going with a fair catch. 2-9, catch of a kick where the receiver forfeits their rights to advance the ball in return for protection from being blocked or tackled by the opponent. This is signified by a nice big wave over top of their head. We do have illegal fair catches, which we don't really like to see happen. And unfortunately, when you see the guys waving their teammates off to get away, that can be misconstrued as an illegal fair catch. So but make that one big sign and then everything else, keep the hands down. A fair catch off of a free kick in or beyond the neutral zone to ours goal line. Off scrimmage kick is beyond the neutral zone towards ours goal line, always after a valid fair catch signal like we just talked about. And an awarded fair catch is the offended team can choose to take the ball after enforcement of a foul for kick catching interference. And this is important because A, you can get where you want the ball spotted. B, you can possibly get the free kick after a fair catch, even if the person didn't catch it because they got blown up for kick catching interference. So there's a couple different reasons for that. All right. And here's our last one. Daniel, I'll let you take the last slide.
Valid fair catch signal, extending and lateral waving of one arm at full arm's length above the head by any R player, which is very key. Anyone on the field of R can call for fair catch, and then that's what's happening.
Yep.
Invalid fair catch signal does not meet the above standard requirement, so any version of them, not fully extended, not above their head, not waving. You can't just stick your hand up, raise your hand like you got a question. Given after the kick has touched a receiver, after the kick has touched the ground, illegal fair catch signal given by runner. Remember, definition 232.13 includes simulating possession after kick has been caught or recovered.
All right. So that's a lot to digest there. Daniel, I know you always have fun with Rule 2.
I have fun with all of them, Mike D. What are we talking about?
That's true. We're talking football.
It's good stuff.
And I do want to go back to Jeff before. Yes, I misworded. I shouldn't have used the word batting, but different things like that, different scenarios with the ball being touched before it goes in the 9 yards. So, Daniel, you did a great job of correcting my my poor choice of words, because batting, we don't want batting. We don't want illegal batting. But yeah, so that's Rule 2 in a nutshell. Well, that's Rule 1-1.5. Nah, it's because it's not all of Rule 2, because we still got more.
Yes.
So half of Rule 2. That's what I was trying to get to.
I love it.
All right, brother man. Well, I know you got places to go and people to see and things to do. So once again, I truly appreciate you being here. I forgot to have you give your plug of where people can find you, so I will throw that on the show notes. I apologize. It wasn't done on purpose, I swear.
For sure.
But if you want to do it now, go for it.
Yes, jump over and listen to me talk ball on the Football Coaching Podcast with Joe Daniel and the Coaching 101 podcast. Those are both completely different shows. Both drop on Thursdays every week. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you're going to find them. The Football Coaching Podcast has got a nice little yellow background, and the Coaching 101 podcast is a giant rectangle signal. Very easy to find. Jump into those, though, man. That we're the springtime gets good because just like you're covering rules, we're covering a lot of technicalities and scheme and stuff like that. So trying to help people get ready for this upcoming spring ball, which is right now in Oklahoma. And then, whatever you're going to do this summer. So great podcast. If you're a new coach, if you're an old coach, whatever, man, we kind of cover stuff for everyone.
And again, if you're a referee and you want to learn the game of football, these are two great sites to go learn the game of football, because in my opinion, understanding the sport from all different levels, players, coaches, officiating is going to make us all better for it, which is why Daniel and Coach Chip like jumping on here and talking ball from the coaching standpoint and learning the rules. So I think it just makes us all better, and we can then put out a better game for all those involved.
Love it.
All right, buddy. I will catch you later. Thank you once again, and have a great rest of your night.